good evening, and welcome to SportsZone. I'm your host, Lucero, filling in for John Phillips. And we're going to start off the show talking some women's March Madness. Joining me to talk about it, Dominic Franks and Jacob Garcia. Guys, the women's March Madness tournament was an incredible tournament all the way around, and we saw dominance from the one seeds. All one seeds in the Final Four, not maybe the biggest surprise, but it was just four teams that were dominating, not only throughout the regular season, throughout the tournament. It was very impressive. However, UConn is a team I was very impressed with. I really thought that they could go deep, but UCLA had some other plans. UCLA, South Carolina is who we saw in the championship game a couple days ago, and even that game was not all that close. Dom, what did you see from the dominance in this game?
I mean, UCLA just absolutely dominated. All five of the starters had scored double figures. Meanwhile, South Carolina just shot 29 from the floor. So, UCLA just really, really dominated in this game, and it wasn't really close, even if the scorecard wants to tell you differently. It just wasn't by most stats. And as we look at these highlights, I mean, it was just insane. A lot of rebounds from UCLA, definitely.
Yeah, Jacob, talk me through these highlights, and what did you see overall from UCLA?
Overall, what I saw, the UCLA, the Bruins were able to use their size to consistently get into the paint. And on top of that, they were getting a hand up on every shot, it felt like. South Carolina had no easy shots throughout the entire game. And, I mean, that's just a recipe for success in any game. UCLA throughout the tournament had also had some issues with turnovers, and they were able to kind of fix that this game. Only totaling 9 turnovers, which, I mean, as I said, a recipe for success. That's the reason, in my eyes, why the Bruins are the women's champions.
Yeah, they were very impressive as we continue to watch these highlights. This is a game that I was really hoping would be tight, but it really wasn't. South Carolina, after what they did to UConn, I really thought that they were going to be competitive in this game. But UCLA, I think their size and their physicality, led by Lauren Betts, was just the difference maker. I mean, repeatedly just dominating their opponents throughout this tournament. We saw it in this game, of course. But Dom, what really stuck out to you the most?
I mean, by the end of the third quarter, the Bruins had a 29-point lead over the Gamecocks, being at 61-32, and South Carolina was held 24% shooting from the floor compared to UCLA's 43%. So I mean, it was just a completely different game for the two different teams. Betts, the seniors had scored 172 points in their tournament, so it wasn't the same teams facing up against each other.
Yeah, absolutely, and I mean, we'll take a look at the box score in a moment again, because this was just a team that not only, we talked about it dominated physically, it just felt like across the board, every single player for UCLA, specifically the seniors on this team, were just so good. The stat right here is seniors for UCLA recorded the last 172 points in the tournament. Lauren Betts, 14 with the double-double, 11 rebounds. Gabriela Jaquez, what a game she had. 21 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, another double-double there. And then Kiki Rice, another top prospect, 10 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals. And for South Carolina, they just couldn't match that production. As you look at the box score, doesn't always tell the story in the game. This one, I think it kind of did, as we see that final of 79-51.
I mean, I want to focus on Gabriela Jaquez and looking at this box score. She was 8 for 14 from the field, 2 for 4 from downtown. And as I said about the turnovers, she only had 1 turnover. Took care of the ball the entire game, just played with confidence, was able to get her shots off. 21 points, 10 boards, and 5 assists. I mean, that's what you just want to see out of your top players. She took control of the game, never looked back. She only had 1 rebound less than Lauren Betts. And Lauren Betts, obviously, we know how she's been this whole tournament. So that's just very impressive for me.
Yeah, for Jaquez to do that as, more of a guard type of player, it's just
crashing the boards.
I know, it's really, it's hard to overstate just how impressive she was in this game and throughout this tournament. And for UCLA, we'll talk more about these players later when we talk about the WNBA and the upcoming draft, because a whole lot of them are going to be hearing their name called in a week. And it's just been so impressive, a team of seniors that have been together, that have grown together, and at the end win UCLA's first championship in program history. Dom, how much does that mean to the program and to all these seniors?
I mean, it especially means a lot to, Gabriela, who is the all-time, most winningest player in UCLA history with 124 wins. And just to these other seniors that, it means a lot because of the fact that it's their first in program history, and they've all been here for a while, even the ones that transferred. Yeah. And being a part of a team that, you can say that, hey, we won this for the first ever time in our school's history. It's unbelievable.
especially last year. Obviously making the Final Four as well and coming so close, but falling just short. It's got to be so sweet for these seniors to ride off into the sunset with obviously the ultimate trophy. So I think that's very, very good for them, and I'm happy that they get a storybook ending.
Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that. And I know we talked a lot about them, but Dom, who were your top players throughout this game and this Final Four?
I mean, Gabriela Vasquez definitely proved herself, I think, if nothing else, in this last game to really be that player for UCLA. But, I mean, also, obviously, shout out Lauren Betts. I mean, she really carried this team all the way through the road to this championship, and I mean it wouldn't be where it is without her. And it's just that's how UCLA played. They played around their center, and they won the national championship because of it.
Yeah, truly they did, and it was just throughout this entire tournament, throughout this entire season. I mean UCLA, I just can't give them enough credit. It was really, really impressive. But zooming out just a little bit, we haven't really gotten to talk too much about the Final Four as a whole. Jacob, what did you see from some of these other teams, and who are some of your other top performers?
Some of our other top performers from UConn, especially AZ Fudd and Sarah Strong. I mean, they just control the game. When you can really feel their presence when they're on the court. And so last week, my predictions were way off. I talked about Women's March Madness. I said it was going to be Texas and UConn. Not the case at all. So shout out UCLA, proving me wrong. But ultimately, I mean, UConn, you just can't say enough about the way they played all season long. Obviously going undefeated until that point. And another top player I want to talk about is Madison Booker from Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Texas, the reason that I had them this far and going into the championship game was because of their size, their physicality, and their defense. And I thought that was going to be enough to carry them through, and ultimately obviously fell short. But Madison Booker, just can't say enough about her.
Yeah, for both UConn and Texas, these are two teams that you look at it at the end of the day, and it's like they came up short. If you want to call the Final Four short, yeah. I think just
all number one seeds.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. But just I think for what they did all season long, it was just a little bit of a disappointing finish. Understandably, UConn, a team that went undefeated until losing to South Carolina, and then Texas just dominating everyone in the tournament up until UCLA. But I think it just says so much about these two teams because UConn, I mean, no one was even close to them. And then for South Carolina to beat them pretty handily, and then for them to be beat by UCLA in kind of a blowout, I mean, it just really shows how much talent and how top-heavy this women's tournament was, headlined by UCLA. But there's a lot to talk about, and I'll ask you, Dom, who were some of your top performers throughout this tournament?
I mean, even when you do lose to the championship by 20, 30 points, I mean, you still have to shout out the team that made it to the national championship. Yeah. So I have Tessa Johnson, South Carolina's guard, who during this tournament averaged 12.2 points per game, 2.5 assists per game, and 3.7 rebounds a game. I mean, as a guard, I mean, what more can you ask in women's basketball? I mean, that's what you want. And then obviously, yeah, Sarah Strong and Azzy Fudd, and then, yeah, of course, Gabriela Vasquez. I mean, that's if you put them on a basketball court together, they're going to blow out anyone. So, I mean, you can't ask more from an all-tournament team from that.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what we saw UCLA do. They just have such a stacked team and such a stacked roster overall. And these seniors, it just really felt right, to kind of ride off into the sunset. And it was very impressive for them. Jacob, looking at the tournament as a whole, though, we saw so many great performers. If you had to pick one, who's your MVP?
I have to go with Hannah Hidalgo from Notre Dame. 25.5 points a game, 11 rebounds, 4.5 assists. But the steals, that is the number that sticks out to me the most. Obviously, she had that 31-point triple-double with steals, which, the guards triple-double. But she, took this Notre Dame team who wasn't really, they weren't really predicted to go very far throughout this tournament. The 6th seed took them to the Elite 8. So that's obviously very impressive. And I was just so impressed by her leadership and everything that she was able to do on the court.
Yeah, I was very proud of Notre Dame. And if you ask me, what was Sweet 16 Hannah Hidalgo like? Man, it was impressive. Almost a quadruple double in that game. I mean, with steals, she had 10 steals in that game.
Ridiculous.
And she is the reason that Notre Dame was able to propel all the way to the Elite 8. I did have them there, and I was very proud of a somewhat Cinderella run, in regards to how top-heavy these women's tournaments usually are. But Hannah Hidalgo, just so impressive, so impressive. Dom, who was your MVP of this tournament?
I think I have to go with Lauren Betts. I mean, when a player wins national championship and is obviously the MVP of that team, I mean, you just have to go there. There's no other option for me, really. As much as Hannah Hidalgo did great, I mean, I think I have to personally shout out Lauren Betts. I mean, the winner, the MVP of the winningest team, why not be MVP?
Yeah, I think it's hard to go wrong with that answer. And we're going to talk about all of these players coming up later when we talk about the WNBA and the draft coming up. But we're going to move over and talk about the men's bracket and the national championship game last night coming up next.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Hasbell, and I'm joining you here today in the Union Parking Garage. Today we're going to be going over how to drive safely in the parking garage. Let's go see. Oh my God! Oh my God! This girl just got hit by a car. Let's go see what happened. Ma'am, are you okay? Are you okay?
Did you see that lady hit me with a car?
Yeah, we did. I got it all on video.
Oh my God.
Let's go over here and talk about how we can prevent that.
Yeah, not the hospital.
Well, right now we're going to ask you a couple questions on how we can drive safely in the parking lot. What are ways that we can be aware of our surroundings?
Oh, we can look both ways.
Jenna, also, how about putting the distractions away?
Yes, just like our phones, turning our music down, and also not focusing on our passengers.
Where can you get information on how to get a parking pass?
Transportation.unt.edu.
If you park in a garage, make sure you pay on the app or look for further instructions on how you should pay.
And remember, no pass, no park. Let's all try to keep our mean green community safe.
Remember, we're all in this together.
Drive safe.
Hola, Rieros!
We're NTTV's longest running Spanish entertainment show, and we're all about culture, creativity, and community in Spanish.
Vámonos.
Welcome back to SportsZone. I'm your host, Steven Lucero. We saw the national championship in the men's tournament last night, and it was really an incredible game between two really, really strong teams that worked really hard throughout this entire tournament to get here. It was an epic finish, and we're going to roll through all the highlights here in just a moment. Joining me to talk about it, Elias Freeman and William Taylor. Guys, this was a men's tournament that was very impressive throughout. I think we saw a little more variance than we did last year. You know, it wasn't all ones. We saw some surprises. I mean, I could talk, I think, an entire show about that Duke-UConn game we saw in the Final Four, but
That was a great game.
Yeah, that was something. And today, let's just get through this national championship game. Michigan and UConn. These are two teams where UConn has been here. They've been here repeatedly. Dan Hurley has really made a name for himself. And then Michigan, they have just really came this year and just improved so much. They've made so much progress, and it's been a long time since we've seen a Big Ten team in this position. But Michigan made some history last night. Looking at the highlights, talk me through what you saw, Elias.
I think the main thing that I saw was just two complete teams. Like, this game was so close till the very end, and I love a close game. I love when it's not just the same old thing the whole time through. But I think we just kept on seeing this close game, this phenomenal effort from both teams. Ultimately, it ended up with Michigan winning their first title since 1989. But I saw some phenomenal defending too, which I will go on and on about defense in any sport you ask me to talk about. And so some of the defending that I was seeing from UConn, especially last night, was super impressive. But specifically, a couple plays stood out to me from Roddy Gale Jr. for Michigan. Crazy work defending there. And it was just a really special game to watch.
Yeah, these are a couple teams that are so well-rounded. You know, you look at them being able to play both offensively and defensively, the two-way players, and just team style that each of these teams have to get here. They worked so hard. I mean, UConn battling back from down 19 to come back and beat Duke. I mean, a team just with no quit. Michigan has just been that team throughout this entire season, throughout this entire tournament. And I think we really saw just that culmination in the national championship game last night. That's exactly what you want to see. William, what did you see from these two teams?
I saw both teams. I said it was a very much a defensive struggle last night. I mean, Michigan. I mean, there's and really not great shooting from behind from downtown.
Yeah.
I mean, Michigan went 2 from 15 from three-point land, and then UConn didn't do much better, shooting 9 from 33 from three-point land as well. I mean, they weren't getting the shots they wanted. UConn especially. I think Michigan played excellent perimeter defense. I think they were just keeping a hand up at all times. I think Michigan did a really good job going down here, getting to the rack and getting to the line especially. especially hitting those shots, and this was very important in order to win that game.
Well, and what I saw is I think a lot of the times when you get down to the championship game, it becomes kind of like something, it can be kind of a boring game to watch. But what I saw last night is two teams that deserve to be here. They worked to be here. And it was a really cool game to watch because you could tell how much fight they both, like you said, UConn, no quit team. And I think we really saw that last night too.
Absolutely. And William, the stat you had with the three-pointers is really a good one. And it's something I want to highlight because if you had told me going into this game that UConn would have made 7 more threes than Michigan did, I think I would have told you UConn won this game.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's really one of those deceiving stats. As we look at the box score right here, team shooting percentage, just from field goal was better for Michigan, but it was some of these stars, Elliot Cadeau, Yaxel Lendenborg, and it just felt like they took over this game. They fought on the inside, and they, I think this was a game where Michigan hadn't had a lot of close matchups throughout this year, but they proved that they could win ugly. They could win fighting, pounding on the inside, because UConn did not play a bad game. They shot better from the outside, 7 threes better. But Michigan just asserted their will inside, and they found a way to win. How much do you think that really just speaks to this Wolverines team and their fight?
I mean, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I think your wins matter just as much as your losses. And I think being able to win ugly is, like I said, this was one of those games where I saw a really even matchup for the most part of the game. And I don't think it necessarily speaks to the Huskies' abilities that they didn't win. But I saw so much fight from Michigan. Being able to come back from being outshot completely is something that's super impressive. Playing a complete game, I think, is super important. You can't rely on shooting. I feel like that's a problem that we see in basketball a lot right now is people want to just rely on shooting. They want to just rely on offense. You have to play a complete game in order to win the Natty, and that's how it goes. And that's what got Michigan there.
Absolutely. That's what Michigan did. And this is a Michigan team overall that was constructed maybe a little bit differently than we've seen from some past national champions. They had some transfers. I mean, you look at Elliot Cadeau, who was just incredible in this game. This is a player that came from North Carolina and has found a home in Michigan, and so many of them did. Do you think that this will kind of encourage teams to prioritize finding those veteran transfers in the portal, William?
I think it will. I think you find a veteran transfer like Cadeau, you can find someone like them, and especially given their veteran history and that they know that they're a proven talent.
Yes.
They're proven. Knowing that they're able to play the game, they can play it at a high level, especially in these close games and March Madness. You can definitely be able to properly construct a team around them in order to go to win these big games like Michigan just did last night.
Yeah, that's exactly what Michigan did last night. What are you thinking on that, Eli?
I think it absolutely will. I think part of being that proven talent that you talk about, William, is being able to fit into any team dynamic and being a team player. I think the culture that you have in the locker room is such a crucial part of winning that when you have players with that raw talent that can slip into that dynamic, I think that's something that's super valuable. And I think that's something that after you win a game like this, it's going to become more valued than it already was.
Yeah, absolutely. And for this Michigan team, there's just so many names to talk about. But I'll ask you guys, who was your MVP, not only for this championship game, but just kind of for Michigan and just this run, William?
My MVP was Yaxel Lendenborg.
Yeah.
I mean, he did a phenomenal job. He did a job leading. He did a phenomenal job rallying this team, especially getting down low, getting to the rack, and getting to the line. Especially, he did what he needed to do. Offensively and defensively. I think he very much improved his draft stock for the NBA. I feel like he was going low. He was going around the like 15 to 20. I think he jumped up to a lottery pick, especially during for this performance.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, stereotypical highest point scorer, but I got to go with Cadeau. I saw a really complete game from him. Just being able to play both sides of the court is something that's so valuable, and it's times like this that it matters most. So when you're able to show up in these big games, which is something so many players have struggled with, I think that bodes well for your future in a professional setting.
Absolutely. Both of the guys you mentioned, once again, just speaking to that ability to be two-way players. To play not just, going off and having a great game offensively, but committing and winning and just making that effort defensively that, that wins championships. And we saw it for Michigan last night. I know it's a tough phrase, but it just felt like it all came true, and just with their physicality, really playing well. And as you said, raising some of their draft stock as well, especially for Yaxel. It's going to be very impressive to see what he continues to do. And I think, he'll have an NBA career ahead of him. But looking at this tournament as a whole, obviously it all came down to this one game. But there are some incredible performances throughout. Eli, what were some of your top players and top teams from throughout the tournament?
Oh gosh, it's hard for me to just narrow it down to one. I feel like, listen, my first ever basketball game I went to was March Madness. And I love March Madness. It's my favorite time of year. I feel like I just saw such raw talent and such beautiful basketball. I've talked so much on this show about how I can't watch the NBA right now. Every time I watch, it's a snooze fest and my team loses. But being able to see just quality basketball being played is something that I value so much. So it's hard for me to narrow it down to one team, one person, because as a whole, I just think this tournament was such a special watch.
Yeah,
So.
it really was. And I mean, I'm gonna disagree just a little bit in the fact that I love the NBA, but
I know that's a hot take. That's a hot
I know,
take.
but guys,
It's a great league.
But I love March even more. I'm gonna be honest. I
Yeah.
just think that the dynamic it brings is just so special. It's so incredible. We could talk about it forever, but we are gonna talk about the NBA. No, just kidding, not yet. We're gonna talk about the MLB and the Texas Rangers coming up next.
What does Talents do?
So I am the Vice President of External Relations for Talents. That means that I basically oversee all the external committees. Our external committees entail our Model A, it's a Mean Green Machine. So they bring it to football games especially, so every game it's kind of there, every home game. The Model A is like a symbol of UNC pride, and it's a big tradition that we are so lucky to uphold and maintain. When people look at it, they see it, and they're like, oh, that's the Mean Green Machine. There must be a game today or something to ramp up school spirit for basketball, softball, volleyball, any of those things. We have amazing teams, so we just want to show school spirit for them. Bonfire Committee, which is in charge of putting together the bonfire every year for homecoming. It's kind of just a whole semester-long process up until Build Week that we have to put together and oversee and make sure safety regulations are followed and risk management is taken care of. Cannon Crew, which oversees and takes care of the cannon. They fire it at games, they take it to special occasions.
It's a jibber jabber. Yes, jibber jabber.
Jibber Jabber is a man-on-the-street NTTV show for Instagram that's in its 7th season, with 2 hosts, 1 comfy chair, and a Would You Do Something bowl.
Pretty much the gist of our show is that we're going to be inviting UNT students, all of our lovely family over, and we're going to be talking to them. And when we run out of things to say, we're going to ask them,
would you do something?
I think we're ready to do something.
Fortnite son or Minecraft daughter?
Welcome back to SportsZone. I'm your host, Steven Lucero, and we're going to talk about the MLB and the Texas Rangers. For the Rangers, it has been a very up and down season so far, just 10 games in, but they lost the first and then won 4 in a row, then lost 4 in a row, and then they won again. So joining me to talk about it, Miguel Flores and Ian Cropper. And guys, I feel like we got the entire Texas Rangers experience in the last couple years, all in the span of 10 games. And I don't know, it's been something that for the Rangers, I have mixed feelings. I know it's just 10 games in, but we've seen some highs, we've seen some lows. What have you seen from them so far, Miguel?
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, we're getting the full Rangers experience. Fighting for 500 is something we're getting a little too used to, but there's been ups, there's been downs, there's been a lot of inconsistency with the bats and with the closers, which has been the biggest issue for us, I think. But we're going to continue to see it. Hopefully the whole season isn't like this or else my cortisol will spike. But, you know, I don't want to fight for 500 all year. We're going to be in a competitive division this year, so we need to get better.
Yeah, absolutely. For Texas, currently starting at 5-5, you know, right there at 500. They have a game tonight. They're currently down 1-0 to the Mariners in the 4th inning. So lots of time left in this game. But Ian, we've seen a lot from Texas over these first 10 games. And what has really stuck out to you the most?
Well, what stuck out to me is that we're kind of in a similar space that we were last year, which is kind of impressive given all the talent we lost in this offseason, saying goodbye to some of that World Series core. But we still have the same strengths and weaknesses. We're great at pitching. We're excellent at fielding. We can't hit to save our lives. And that has gotten especially frustrating because a team, even mediocre team shouldn't drop a full series to the Reds.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. You know, we saw them play pretty well against Philadelphia. They did really good in Baltimore. And I think the big thing is the bats were there. You know, maybe it's only when we're away from home or something like that. But you talked about Marcus Semien and Adolis Garcia being those World Series guys. That departed. In comes Brandon Nimmo. And that's really been an X factor for me. Brandon Nimmo currently batting in that leadoff spot. Best average on the team, well over 300 right now. He has brought somewhat of a spark. And, you know, even though the Rangers offense hasn't exactly found its consistency, especially at home, I think there have been some flashes. What do you think about that, Miguel?
Yeah, I agree. Brandon Nimmo, bringing him in. Look, Semien was a big part of that team that won the World Series, but that was 3 years ago. That has gone. He wasn't the same player last year. Adolis obviously wasn't the same player last year. So I think that it was good releases. As of right now, it's looking like we've kind of won that deal with getting Nimmo. He has been a solid hitter. Obviously, stats are not exactly where they are so early in the season, but he's going to be a big contributor. He's one of my stars of the season so far, so I'm happy with what we've seen from him.
Yeah, absolutely. And this was a very difficult offseason because, yes, you lost some of these players that were core pieces of that championship team. And it's always hard, I think, just to say goodbye to players like that. You know, Adolis Garcia and Marcus Semien mean so much to the Rangers and this fan base specifically. Yeah. But it's time, you know, to take that next step. And Brandon Nimmo has really been a great option for you. Adolis Garcia hasn't done a whole lot in Philly. I mean, I think he helped us with that drop. I'll say that. Shout out.
Indeed he did.
But, you know, I think for Texas, it's a matter of turning the page and trying to find something new. You know, they have some old pieces, especially on that pitching staff, as we talked about. But, you know, there's a whole lot of new as well. And, Ian, of these new players, who's stuck out to you? And
well, Nimmo is the obvious one, but for a less obvious one, how about Andrew McCutchen?
Oh, yeah.
Who saw that coming? The 39-year-old outfielder, right after Pittsburgh told him to walk the plank, he's having a great start to this season. Like, if you look at our hitters, his batting average and on-base percentage are only behind Nimmo. He's fourth in RBI, and he's leading the team in slugging percentage and OBS. All this in far fewer at-bats than most of the starting rotation, only 17, while most of the team are in the 30s and 40s. Now, granted, he probably won't sustain this since right now he's at a .353 batting average. That would be his highest in 19 years in the majors, but still, it's an encouraging start to the season for a solid late off-season addition.
Yeah, what does that say? 19 years in the majors right there. I mean, Andrew McCutchen, I love Andrew McCutchen, guys. I mean, a 39-year-old, of just true veteran of this league. And I think what he brings to this team, of course, has been a bat so far. It's been impressive, but also just that leadership ability. I would like to see him play more over Jock Peterson, I'm not going to lie.
Indeed.
But he has played well when he's in there at DH. He even played right field a couple of games ago. Yeah. I don't expect this, as you said, to be sustained across the entire season. But if he can be a DH for you that can really step in, make a difference, at least, you know, every other night, I think it's really a big deal for McCutchen. But looking at this team as a whole, you know, we talked a lot about some batters, and I want to talk about some of the pitching, especially what we saw last night. Looking at the game against Seattle, this was a game where you need to get back on track because you lost that series in sweeping fashion to Cincinnati. And as we look at some of our most impressive Rangers, McCutchen and Nimmo are the ones we mentioned. And Jake Berger is one more I'll give a shout out to real quick because he's been batting in the cleanup spot, and he had that highest average for actually a good little bit. He's been not quite as good in the last few games, but Berger has really been impressive for this team so far.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Berger's definitely played a solid role. He's kind of looking more like the guy that we acquired from Miami. Last year, he obviously didn't do so great, but now we're kind of seeing, you know, him take on that role of being a solid hitter. Hopefully he can maintain it. A lot of these guys, they are so early, McCutchen, very early, so it's not going to sustain, but if they do somewhat good, if we could just somewhat get our bats hot, that would help us so much. And because our pitching is solid. We're in like low running games in this era of the MLB. You have to score. And if we're not able to put runs on the board, then we're not going to see any improvement for this team.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we saw last night. Another low-scoring game. We'll take a look at the highlights in just a moment. But the Rangers, you know, needing to get a win, needing to get back on track. I liked what I saw from them at times in this game. Obviously, the bats, you know, still not exactly what we want to see, but shout out pitching. It was really impressive. What did you see from them last night, Ian?
I mean, I fully agree. The pitching was great. Jacob deGrom still got it despite his age and injuries. He only gave up one home run, and that was to Big Dumper, so, you know, that's kind of to be expected. But we did still have just enough production from our bats to win, particularly from Wyatt Langford, who's sadly been one of my most disappointing players of the season so far. He did have a nice hit that helped us win that game, but overall, this has just been a disappointing season for one of my favorite players on this team.
Yeah, I would preach patience with Wyatt Langford. I think it's a difficult one for him because I know baseball is a game of, fundamentals, but unfortunately at times it's a game of luck. And for him, I just feel like he's been a little bit unlucky. I know that's not going to show up on the stat sheet, but he's had some really hard hit balls, just a lot of high flyers that just keep turning into some flyouts. And, I think for him, he has shown that exit velocity. It's there. He has that pop and that power. I think it's just going to be a matter of him getting going. But, Miguel, looking at the game last night, what did you see from Texas?
Great pitching.
Yeah.
DeGrom, he's always – it's good to see him in the zone. Obviously, I've been reading some news that, maybe there's a little issue with his knee. Hopefully that's no problem.
He's had enough injuries.
I know, right?
Yeah, the last thing we need is another injury, but solid pitching. And we were able to see Jake Berger come through late and get that RBI double to help us take the lead and win the game. And it was awesome to get a win after that loss. Whenever you skid against the Reds, who they are second in the NL Central, but you don't want to see a skid, especially after how hot we started away, of all things. And then you come home, you can't score runs, so it was good to kind of get back on track. I want to see more production from our hitters. The pitching needs to stay solid. Evaldi's not doing awful this game, so.
Yeah, that's a big part because Nathan Evaldi, I think another player who has been perhaps a bit unlucky. I mean, he was really, especially looking at his last outing, he was throwing strikes. He just was getting hit off. There were just some kind of unfortunate ones that fell. And overall, it just got his pitch count up and ended up driving him out of that game pretty early. So not to excuse his performance in these first couple games, it's definitely not ideal, but he's another player that I think will get on track. Ian, though, looking at these starters as a whole, you have a pretty strong rotation so far. Looking at Jacob deGrom, Nathan Evaldi, Mackenzie Gore, Jack Leiter, Kumar Rocker, and even Jake Latz. I like that list of names. Ian, what have you seen from the starters so far?
I mean, I've seen what we've needed to see. This is a group that can pitch at the highest level. And I do want to highlight Mackenzie Gore. That was another great offseason addition from Skip Schumacher. Mm-hmm. He's really making the team his own with moves like that and moving off from the World Series core.
Yeah, absolutely. Both Skip Schumacher and Chris Young, I think, really attacked this offseason with the mentality of using the core we have, but building on it and making those moves. And Mackenzie Gore, that trade, it was honestly one I wasn't thrilled about when they first made it. You gave up 5 prospects for that. And it was just a little bit difficult, but Mackenzie Gore has pitched really well so far. And you needed that lefty, that southpaw out of the starting lineup. And if he can continue to be what we've seen so far, I really think he could be a difference maker. Yeah. Speaking on pitching, though, I think the one concern that I have and that we've had over multiple seasons is the other part of the pitching, and that's the bullpen. The starters are great, and they are going to continue to be great, I think, as long as they can stay healthy. But the bullpen year after year is just a big question mark. Miguel, what have you seen from them so far?
Whenever they clip to the bullpen and you see Chris Martin and Robert Garcia warming up, I can't describe the sad expression on my face. I'm so disappointed every time I look at those two guys because they just can't clutch up, especially Chris Martin. He is the biggest. He spikes my cortisol. I hate to keep using that word, but he's ruining me. And year after year, the closers have not been good. The middle relievers are okay. Mm-hmm. Like, the bullpen isn't completely awful, but whenever you get down to those guys that you want to call to in the 8th and 9th inning that need to shut it down and secure the win, I hate to see those guys. And I seriously think that we need to make an acquisition to get a better closer. Yeah. Because seeing someone like Mason Miller come in for the Padres and just blast 103 by hitters, can we just please get that? But we don't have that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, unfortunately, I don't think you're going to get Mason Miller type, but this is a team and a roster that is built to be a playoff team. But I just think that more than anything is just what's lacking. You have Chris Martin, you have Robert Garcia. As you said, guys like Jacob Junis, I mean, have been solid in that middle relief, but you need a closer. And I begged them before the trade deadline, get a closer in the building. Because the Rangers, obviously, it's a long season to go. There's a whole lot more that we'll talk about, but a closing pitcher I just think that's the missing piece right now. So we'll continue to talk about it, but now we are going to talk about the NBA coming up next.
I'm so tired. I feel ugly. I'm not okay. I didn't know UNT had counseling services. Maybe I should check it out. This looks like the place.
Why should you join Talons?
We are very welcoming to people who may be a little bit hesitant. There's people currently right now in our organization who are in leadership positions who were hesitant before to join, and they found out that they just loved the organization and wanted to be a bigger part of it. They post about the football games, everything they're doing, all their events that they host.
What's the best part about Talons?
I would say meeting new people, because the university, while it's a kind of small campus in terms of like physical land, there's a ton of people here. And so getting to meet all these people who have so much school spirit and love for this university and want to spread that to other people, it's kind of like a little miniature family that we're in.
Welcome back to SportsZone. I'm your host, Steven Lucero, and as promised, we're going to talk about the NBA now. The NBA season is coming to a close pretty quickly. I think we've all been really focused with March, but the NBA has quietly been very exciting over the last couple weeks, with the awards races really coming down to the wire. Joining me to talk about it, Beth Spicer and Christian Versuch. Guys, looking at the NBA, especially over the last couple weeks, we've seen some intense matchups. We've seen some incredible games from players, teams, just about everything you can ask for. But I want to talk first about the Mavericks. You know, unfortunately, every time I mention the Mavericks, I'm kind of like, you know, but I want to specifically pledge allegiance to the flag, and that being Cooper Flag. Because, guys, he has been incredible over the last couple games. 96 points in the last 2 games combined. Beth, what have you seen from Cooper?
I mean, what have you not seen from Cooper
Right?
Flag? I think is the better question to be asked here. Cooper Flag is just an amazing of an athlete. I mean, you know, we've all gone through it since we've traded Luka to the Lakers. What a time it's been. Cooper Flag has filled that hole in our hearts, maybe a little bit, not all the way, but he's so amazing. I mean, he has 4 40-point games this season. That's ridiculous. I mean, how does Cooper Flag do what he does? He also has the record for the youngest to have a 50-point game. Again, 1 season, does it all. I think what we haven't seen from Cooper Flag, I think, is the better question.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that you could argue we haven't seen from Cooper Flag, 2 things, honestly. The 3-point shooting, which, I mean, if you can do what he can do, it's not that big of a deal that you can't shoot threes, right? I mean, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, 2 of the greatest players of all time, for huge fractions of both of their careers, they were below average shooters. So, I mean, not the end of the world. But I will say, consistency. It's the rookie of the year, not the rookie of March and April. And for the big chunk of the year, Cooper Flag, people were talking about him like he was disappointing. He was shooting 42% from the field up until the month of March started. Since then, he's shooting like 53%, by the way. So, no, again, like it's hard to knock him for it. But when we're looking at this award race, Con Kneppel, I mean, 20 points per game almost. He has elevated his team. They won. The Hornets are a team that won 19 games last year. They're going to be a playoff team. Hopefully they can avoid the play-in, but that's the conversation for a different day. And the Mavs, again, not a knock on Cooper Flag. We can't blame the Mavs for having a better record than last year, knowing what happened. But they're definitely not a better team than last year. And Con Kneppel is the difference maker for the Hornets. That's the same roster with what? Nurkic is their addition besides Con Kneppel. I think that, I don't know. I think those are some things we have to consider when we're talking about Rookie of the Year, is the difference that Con Kneppel made on his team.
I mean, yes, Cooper Flag has dropped. I mean, he's not always been the most consistent the entire season, but yes, it is our Rookie of the Season. But I mean, what else can you say about Cooper Flag? He kind of does have one of the worst teams handed in his lap, and he's just kind of dealing with it in my defense. I mean, Kneppel's point, he does have the most three-pointers for an NBA rookie, so what Cooper Flag doesn't have, he does have, I will say. But he has the better team. I mean, you can't rely on Cooper Flag the way you can rely on Paige Beckers with the Wings to have an awful team and come back every single time. I mean, she did win Rookie of the Year, so I'm saying, here we go, Cooper Flag, you have to keep it up for Dallas.
Yeah, it's a good comparison right there. We saw some of the highlights of that Mavs-Lakers game, and I'd like to put the end of those if we can, because this was a game that was tight throughout, and Cooper Flag just once again stepping up and making it happen. I mean, you look at Lakers-Mavericks, and I think, especially in Dallas, I think everyone is expecting this game to be the Luka Doncic show. But unfortunately, for Luka and the Lakers. He suffered that hamstring injury. He was out along with Austin Reeves. Both of them will miss the remainder of the regular season. But
Probably ends the Lakers' playoff chances right there, too.
That's an interesting point. But for Cooper Flagg and the Mavericks, finding a way, the Mavs aren't going to be in that playoff conversation. But Cooper Flagg, I think, is definitely in the Rookie of the Year conversation. However, Colin Knippel and the Hornets are in that playoff conversation. I think it's interesting to kind of look at the player versus the team and where that stands. So, Christian, do you have Colin Knippel or Cooper Flagg as Rookie of the Year?
I think that if it ended today, I think I might have to give it to Cooper Flagg. But the truth is that there's still a week left to play, and if Colin Knippel can keep what he's doing, average 20 points per game, and make those clutch shots, because that's really what he's been. We talked about the difference maker. The Hornets. Last year, yes, they were a bad team, but it was never about the roster being bad. This has always been a team where we're like, oh, eventually they're going to figure it out. They're just a piece away. And Colin Knippel is that missing piece. But now we have to see if he's a leader, if he's the clutch factor. Like Beth mentioned, what Cooper Flagg does, Colin Knippel, or doesn't do, Colin Knippel does, and vice versa. Now it's time for one of them to make themselves really like the difference maker for their team. Cooper Flagg's already shown the ability to do that. If Colin Knippel can lift his team out of the play-in, and I mean, obviously, I know playoffs don't really affect these awards, but I think solidify himself as getting them there to the playoffs, then I think there will be an argument. And the story, either way, no matter who wins it, it's an awesome story that these teammates are going at each other for the Rookie of the Year, like former Duke teammates. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Cooper Flagg, I think I'll agree with you. For now, I think I got to give it to him just because of his all-around play. But I want to give a huge shout-out to Colin Knippel because his shooting has just been incredible.
It's amazing.
I mean, truly, he broke the record for most three-pointers by a rookie player. And I just think that he has a long and very fruitful career in this league, especially from beyond the arc. So it's going to be very impressive what him and the Hornets can continue to do. But now I want to talk about some of the top contenders for, of course, the MVP award. This has been an MVP race throughout this year that has been tighter than we've seen in a long time. I think for the last few years, it's kind of been pretty clear and obvious. It's going to be Shea, it's going to be Giannis, it's going to be Jokic, whatever. This year, I think we have a nice, interesting mix of them. And right now, the MVP ladder is currently at 3. We have Nikola Jokic. At 2, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. And at number 1, none other than Victor Wembanyama. So, guys, this has been a tight race. And we saw an incredible matchup recently between the Nuggets and Spurs going in an incredible game. And I think that kind of, just solidified what candidates these are, not just the players, but the teams as well as playoff contenders. But, guys, looking at the MVP race as a whole, who do you think takes this?
I have to go Jokic. I know it's the bottom of the race, but I honestly think Wembley doesn't get it just because his defense is very good. His offense is just the weakest of the 3 in all of defense. It's just not up there compared with the other ones. And Shea is good. He is really good. His offense just isn't what Jokic is. And in Jokic's defense, he did win MVP in the 21-22 season and then 23-24 season, which means we got to come back around for the 25-26 season.
Every other year,
Every other year, he's got to come back is what I have to say.
All right. I mean, it's very interesting. And, to call Wemby and Shea's offensive games lacking
They're
is
not
crazy.
lacking. I didn't say lacking. I just said less than.
Jokic.
It's just less than,
No,
yes.
you didn't let me finish. It was just in comparison to Jokic. And it's, as crazy as it sounds, it's a fair point. Because what Jokic has done, not only from a scoring standpoint, but as a facilitator, I mean, this is a center consistently nearly averaging a triple-double. His rebounds, of course, are amazing, but the way he's able to dish out the ball, passing like a point guard, I call him a point center. And I think the same could be said about Victor Wembanyama. Maybe not quite as a facilitator, but as a defender. And to be able to, Wemby, he can shoot, he can pull up from anywhere. It's insane. And the future of the league is in very good hands. But at least for this year, Christian, who do you think takes MVP?
I think that sadly that Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has won the war of attrition again. I think that they're going to look at the like last year with Jokic, a lot of people argue that Jokic should have won it last year too, and the people bring up these arguments because of voter fatigue. Like voter fatigue is very real.
Very real.
And SGA won it last year, and he had a slightly better year than he did last year. And when it comes to Jokic, I think that although Jokic probably is having the best year of his career when it comes to like looking up the numbers, like he's not scoring as many points as he did last year. But he's averaging the best triple-double in terms of rebounds, assists. His defense is a little better this year than in years past, and I think that when it comes to Wemby, it's just an age thing. Like Luka, we could argue that Luka should have 1 or 2, but they were like, oh, his time will come. His time will come. We have to give it to Jokic this year. We have to give it to Embiid this year because his time will come. And I think that that's what's going to happen with Wemby. I think even you can make all the arguments in the world, and they're going to say, well, we have to give it to SGA, right? And that's what it's about. But I will say that the standings right now are very close. If the Spurs finish the 1 seed and the Thunder are the 2 seed, I wouldn't be surprised if Wemby really does win the MVP award.
Yeah, it's a great point. And talking about, waiting their turn, and Luka specifically, I mean, I found it kind of crazy that he dropped. I mean, he was averaging 37 points over the last couple weeks. And, of course, he's hurt now, so he's not going to end up winning MVP or anything. But, I mean, just for him to drop in that race from 2 to 4, I thought was a little bit disrespectful. It's going to be crazy. But, guys, I think I'm going to go Shea as well. I think Wemby wins Defensive Player of the Year. Jokic, as good as he's been, I think there is some voter fatigue there. It's going to be a very wild race. And I think, truly, for it to come down to last week, it's going to be really exciting. I'm going to go with Shea, but we'll have to see. It's going to be really cool to watch. But now we're going to talk about the WNBA, the expansion draft, and the upcoming rookie draft coming up next.
Property Brothers have won! Welcome back to Late Night at North Texas. Late Night at North Texas. Late Night at North Texas.
Color the world with peace and joy.
Tell me, Diva, what's the tea?
My Nisha drag is dumb.
The spirits have guided you to me.
I warned them that this was dangerous, but did they listen? No!
I've been having these dreams.
Welcome in.
This is part of the process, Eric. I only want what is best for you.
You want me to go on and on with the program until there's nothing left of me.
We are one now. Our goals are the same.
No, they're not.
Welcome back to SportsZone. I'm your host, Steven Lucero, and we're going to talk about the WNBA. They have been very, very eventful over the last week with trades, drafts, and another upcoming draft. We're going to talk about it all. Joining me to talk, Bowie Devlin and Cooper the Hammer Lide. Guys, this is a WNBA as a whole that has gone through a whole lot recently. They agreed to the new CBA, which is very, very big. I was concerned about a potential lockout for this team and for the league as a whole, but they found a way to get it done, really finally paying the players what they deserve. I still think it should be a little higher, but that's going to be something that continues to progress. But guys, I want to talk about the biggest news of the week, and that is Angel Reese traded, obviously, from the Chicago Sky over to the Atlanta Dream in exchange for 2 first-round picks, along with a second-round pick swap. But this was a trade that shocked a whole lot of people. Angel Reese, obviously the superstar of the 2023 March Madness with LSU, came into the Sky and already just incredible. Her defensive prowess, amazing, and now shipped off to Atlanta. Cooper, how are you feeling about this trade?
I think it's a little puzzling from the Chicago Sky aspect. I know they weren't good, but now they're just like, they were in rebuild and now just going like 5 steps back now. It's a little interesting, but I think Atlanta Dream, this is a win for them. Like, they were kind of on the borderline contending last season as they made the playoffs as a 3 seed, but now I think they're definitely championship contenders with the best of them now.
All right. So for Angel Reese, it's a very interesting move here because for her, I mean, yeah, the Chicago Sky had not really been performing, as you said, exactly the way they'd be wanting to, but I think it's just interesting because you kind of had 2 great, big men in this situation with Camila Cardoso already there. So it's like, I think for the Sky, they are committing to Cardoso and they're committing to the future. And the future's coming soon because they get 2 first-round picks in exchange for Angel Reese, obviously a huge trade. And for this one, who do you think wins this, Bowie?
Call me crazy. I think the Sky won.
Okay.
I mean, as the days and the years go by, I feel like picks are going to start coming more valuable. And I feel like, with Angel, her stats have been, majority of them are in the negative. I feel like, she's just farming her rebounds off of missed shots. And I feel like with these picks, I feel like the Sky are going to utilize that in that rebuild and eventually continue to build themselves back up.
Okay, interesting. I think Angel Reese is an excellent player and a great defender. I think, it was just more of a case for me with the Sky just not really being that one player away. I think that they are just in need to rebuild that team a little more from the bottom up. And I think this is just a move of committing to that rebuild. You get 2 first-round picks, which is a huge haul. And then Angel Reese going to an Atlanta Dream team that you talked about, Cooper, can look like contenders. So for me, it's very difficult. I saw some, grades of like really, really lopsided. I understand this for both teams. I think it's difficult in the short term for the Sky, but I think they will hopefully get those results depending on how those draft picks fare out. But for Atlanta, it's going to be really exciting. What do you think they can do with Angel Reese now on this team, Bowie?
I think it's just going to continue to build their depth, and I feel like she is like, I guess she brings that presence
Absolutely.
in the locker room to where I feel like it can really build them all up on each other, and I feel like that's something that I think that they really needed for a while.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see. What are you thinking, Cooper?
She's going to definitely be a big presence in the paint. Like, she's led the league in rebounds. I'm pretty sure back-to-back seasons. She's broken records. A 2-time All-Star. I definitely think it's a great presence and a great addition.
Yeah, it's a huge trade, and we'll see how it continues to fare out. But, guys, I want to talk next about the WNBA expansion draft that we saw this past week. The brand new teams, the Toronto Tempo and the Portland Fire, both teams being introduced to the league this year. So, obviously, you do that expansion draft, they get to make their picks, build their teams, and we saw some interesting moves so far. Cooper, what did you see in this expansion draft for these two?
I saw kind of 2 different aspects that they're coming from. So Toronto Tempo, they're kind of going for like the win now with some great players like Julie Allemand and Marina Mabry. However, on the other side, Portland, they're kind of going for like maybe develop, not exactly win now, as they took some interesting players like Nika Mole. She's had her career plagued with injuries. However, there's optimism. And they just got like Carla Light. And it also helps that she's actually from a recent team that just got created last year, so she also has experience with being in that foundation from the ground up.
Yeah, definitely interesting for the Fire. Nika Mule, obviously, you said, has battled those injuries, but definitely a big name and just really tough, obviously, for the Seattle fans, losing a player like that who was just such a staple in that team. But if anything, I don't know, it kind of reminds me of when, I'm going to go to hockey real quick, but Marc-Andre Fleury being picked by the Golden Knights, this is a player that, played with injuries, a veteran, but ended up being a huge presence for that Vegas team. So for Nika Mule, we'll see if she can get healthy. I don't know if it's going to be all that, but I think it's just something for the Fire to really build on. And then their first pick, Bridget Carleton, definitely going to be a huge player for them as they start in their inaugural season. But Bowie, overall, what did you see from this expansion draft?
I think it's great. there were so many picks that these teams needed, and I feel like the missing key spots that were filled that is just going to help build these teams, just to maybe potentially dynasties,
Yeah, you never know. Obviously it takes time, and usually these expansion teams don't, perform like crazy out of the gates, but you never know. Stuff can happen. We've seen it before, and it's just very exciting for the WNBA now, up to 15 teams, and I would not be surprised if they continue to expand going forward. But for the Tempo and the Fire, it's going to be very interesting to see what they can do. But however, they're going to have some picks in the upcoming rookie draft as well, and I want to talk about that next. We talked a whole lot about Women's March Madness at the top of the show, and there's going to be a lot of great prospects in this upcoming draft. The Wings have the #1 pick in back-to-back years, obviously, selecting Paige Beckers from UConn last year. She was incredible, wins Rookie of the Year, but the Wings definitely showed that they still need a lot of help to put pieces around her. Looking at this draft and looking at some of these top prospects, Cooper, who would you like to see the Wings pick #1?
I think there's a lot of great options. I'm not mad at any of them, but I got to go with AZ Fudd.
All right.
Just the chemistry she'll have with a former teammate like Paige Beckers. And just I saw that the Wings just kind of struggled in shooting, and she'll definitely help that little aspect and just kind of help an offense that can be dormant at times. And I think I got to go with AZ.
All right. Who are you thinking the Wings should pick number one?
I got to build back up on him. I mean, it's got to be AZ, you know, just her, with her persona and her playmaking, I think that is something that could really build with Paige and Enrique. And I feel like, you know, that could boost the Wings, you know, up on that next level.
All right. It's very interesting, and I'm torn because I think my heart wants AZ Fudd because just the chemistry that she has with Paige, obviously from their UConn days, she's an incredible player. But there's another one I got to mention, and that is Awa Pham. You might not have heard as much about her just because she didn't play in college, but the international prospect has some incredible talent. I mean, this is a center from Spain that really, I think, can be that difference maker for this Wings team. As much as I would love to bring in AZ Fudd, that's another kind of guard forward type of player, and you already have that in Beckers and Enrique. To me, Awa Pham to be able to come in and be that physical presence, kind of like what Lauren Betts was for UCLA. I mean, to consider that she is a higher prospect than Lauren Betts herself, to me that says a lot about her ability. So I'm torn. I would be very happy either way, but I think that's another prospect to really listen out for, number one. But looking at the draft as a whole, I want to kind of look at maybe the top five. You know, if you guys check out some of the mock drafts going on, there's a lot of debate, a lot of great prospects, but looking overall, Bowie, who are some of your top prospects in this draft?
Well, for me, it's got to be Dallas with Ozzy. I just think that, you know, that's the biggest role that I feel like they need. And then the Lynx with Awa. And then following that with Seattle getting Olivia Miles. I feel like those are the three pieces that are the main part of the draft that I think that everyone in the league needs to focus on because they're big playmakers.
Yep.
Yeah, I got to agree with part of it. Like, in like these best four players, like I'm not mad at any of them, honestly. Like obviously AZ, Fudd. I got Lauren Betts going second. And honestly, either or, like Awa Pham, she's the best international prospect. She's amazing, so I'm not mad at that, any of those. And I got Olivia Miles.
Yeah, all right. You know, some good names there. Olivia Miles is a very exciting one, the guard from TCU. She had a really incredible tournament and a really great couple seasons, you know, with TCU, and then of course her college career as a whole. But Olivia Miles has just been very, very impressive. That's another one. And then, guys, you mentioned Lauren Betts. I mean, it's impossible. You know, we talked about her so much at the top of the show. This is just such a stacked draft class for the WNBA incoming. There's going to be so many great players. It's hard to choose one, but the Dallas Wings will have to pretty soon. So that is all the time we have. Thank you all for watching SportsZone. So many sports going on, and we're going to continue to cover it with Thursday's show coming up later. Thank you so much for watching, though. Make sure to give us a follow at our socials at NTTV Sports, and we will see you on Thursday for SportsZone.